In the heart of a bustling African city, nestled between vibrant markets and towering office buildings, stood a grand and luxurious beauty salon. Its golden sign read, Madame Susan's Royal Touch. The shop gleamed with elegance, crystal chandeliers hanging from ceiling, velvet seats arranged in a perfect way and walls adorned with mirrors that reflected the beauty of every woman who stepped inside. The air carried a soothing scent of exotic oils and sweet perfumes, an aroma that lingered even outside, drawing customers in like a siren call. Madame Susan, as she was popularly called, was the mastermind behind this empire. She was a very famous stylist. She owns the most luxurious female salon in the entire state. Her hands worked like magic on the heads, faces and nails of women. Her hands worked wonders, braiding, styling, weaving, and applying makeup so flawlessly that her customers left like queens. She was also an expert in manicures and pedicures, transforming the roughest feet into soft, polished gems. Women from all over the country and even beyond the country borders sought her services. Eager to experience the magic of Madame Susan's hands, they traveled from far and wide just to have her touch their hair and faces. Others too busy or too wealthy to visit paid large amount of money for home services. Madame Susan had the best equipment, using brand new tools for every customer. She would open them right in front of the customers to prove they were fresh and new. The customers would stare in surprise and would ask why. She would say,
"My dear, there are many viruses spreading through shared equipment. I don't want to risk my customers' heads."
No matter how expensive the equipments were, she would never repeat or reuse it on another customer. People loved her even more for this. The women who worked for her were just as extraordinary, beautiful, talented, and well-trained in the art of beauty. They treated customers with warmth, their laughter and friendly chatter filling the salon with life. However, it was not just the beauty services that made Madame Susan famous, it was also her stories. Madame Susan was a gifted storyteller. As she worked her magic on customers, she told them tales of ancient African queens, tricksters, gods, and mysterious love stories. She spoke of the spirits that roamed the forests at night, of brave warriors who fought for their people, and of the wisdom passed down through generations. Her voice had a rhythm, a melody that captivated everyone who listened. Her workers too enjoyed these stories. Even those who had heard them countless times before never grew tired of them. Madame Susan's words wove a spell, make time seem to slow down. Anyone who entered the salon felt at home, comfortable and entertained. It was no wonder that the salon was always full. But this success did not come without enemies. Not everyone was happy about Madame Susan's success. Other salon owners watched in frustration as their business struggled while hers flourished. They could not understand why theirs remained half empty. They too could braid hair, apply makeup, and give pedicures and manicures, so why did customers always choose Madame Susan over them? How did she do it? They copied her decor, hired skilled beauticians, even tried offering discounts and promotions, but nothing seemed to draw customers the way Madame Susan's salon did. Madame Susan's rivals, other salon owners, were consumed with jealousy. Whispers of envy spread among the rival salons. Desperate to uncover her secret, they sent spies, women who disguised themselves as customers. They would come in, sit in the salon chair, and pretend to be ordinary customers while secretly studying everything. They watched her every move carefully, observed her staffs, studied her techniques, and even listened to her joke and stories. But each time the spies returned, their reports were the same.
There is nothing magical or special about what she does. She braids hairs just like we do. She applies makeup just like we do. She does pedicures and manicures just like we do. There's nothing unusual about her techniques.
Then why do people prefer her? I think there is something. There is only one thing she does differently. She never reuses products. She uses new equipment and products on each customer. She just wastes product and that's why people like her.
It's not a waste. Think about it. Customers feel special when they see that they are getting fresh products. It makes them believe they are receiving the best care. No one wants to think they are using something that touched another person.
Realization dawned on the rivals. Madame Susan had found a way to make every customer feel exclusive and valued. It wasn't just about the beauty services, it was about the experience. Determined to steal this technique, the rival salon owners tried to implement the same practice in their own shops. They bought brand new products for their next batch of customers, ensuring that no tools or beauty items were reused. At first, it seemed to work. Customers were impressed, feeling like they were being treated with extra care. But very quickly, the rival salon owners ran into major problem. The cost was unbearable. Buying new equipment and products for every single customer was expensive. Throwing away unused nail buffers and file after just one use was wasteful and cost them more money than they could afford. Opening fresh packs of expensive hair product for every client, even when there was leftover that could still be used, meant they were spending twice as much on hair supplies. It wasn't long before the rival salon owners ran out of money. They underestimated how much it cost to maintain such a high standard. One by one, the rival salon owners gave up on trying to copy Madame Susan's method.
She must be making money another way. There's no way we can afford to do what she does.
Now more confused than ever, the rivals became jealous of Madame Susan. If she was spending so much on fresh products, how was she still making profits? Some began to whisper that maybe she had a secret investor or a hidden source of wealth. Others started suspecting that perhaps there was something darker going on behind the scenes, because no one could maintain such an expensive business model without collapsing. But no matter how much they think about it, they could not figure it out. And so, the envy and suspicion surrounding Madame Susan continued to grow. Yet, through it all, Madame Susan remained unbothered. She kept running her salon as she always had, welcoming new customers every day, telling her captivating stories, and never acknowledging the jealous eyes watching her every move. She gave blind eyes and deaf ears to all what she was seeing and hearing. But the other mystery that no one could ignore still remained: why did her customers never come back? Every day, Madame Susan's salon was full, yet the next day, it was only new faces. No one ever returned for a second appointment. It was always new faces every single day. People found it strange, including her workers, but they brushed it off. They thought maybe Madame Susan's service was so perfect that customers only need one-time visit. But as time went on, whispers began to spread. Why did no one ever return? Curiosity grew. Some wondered if she was secretly overcharging customers, or if she had a bad attitude when no one was looking, or her work was just so good that she always attracted new clients. But none of that made sense. Everyone who left her salon praised her work, saying they had never looked more beautiful. So why did they never come back? What no one knew was that Madame Susan had a dark secret. What no one knew was that Madame Susan had a hidden room underground. Every night after closing, she waited for her workers to leave. Then, she gathered the used tools, combs, brushes, hair dryer, nail clippers, and makeup brushes and carried them down into the secret chamber. Inside the dark room, she chanted mysterious words and carefully stored each tool in its right place. These tools were more than just beauty equipments. They contained the destiny, success, and happiness of her customers. The beauty she gave her customers was not ordinary. Each woman who left her salon unknowingly left behind a piece of her fortune. That was the real secret behind Madame Susan's fame and riches. But there was a price. Her customers' lives started to fall apart. Women whose hair she braided lost their sanity. They could no longer think properly. Women she did makeup for suffered relationship and marriage problems. Their partners no longer find them attractive. Their beauty was stolen to sustain Madame Susan's power, fame, and riches. Women she gave pedicures to faced endless disappointment and failures wherever they went to. Women she gave manicures lost their ability to create or touch anything good. While these women suffered, Madame Susan's wealth only grew. The sun was shining brightly as a young lady called Jessica walked through the busy streets. She had heard so many good things about Madame Susan's salon, how it was the best in the city, how people left looking more beautiful than ever. Curious, she decided to see it and experience it for herself. The moment Jessica stepped through the doors of Madame Susan Royal Touch, an unsettling energy wrapped around her neck like a thick blanket. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating. The salon was beautiful, more luxurious than she had imagined. The walls were painted in soft gold, mirrors lined the space, reflecting the beauty of the women being attended to. Soft music played in the background, and the scent of expensive hair oils and shea butter filled the room. The workers, all stunningly beautiful women, smiled warmly at her as they welcomed her. But despite their cheerful faces, Jessica felt something dark lingering in the air. It was an invisible presence, a weight pressing down her chest. She wasn't comfortable. Her heart pounded slightly, but she remained calm, scanning the room with keen eyes. Jessica had always had a special gift. Since childhood, she could sense the presence of spirits, good or bad. She could tell when a place carried sorrow, when it hid secrets that eyes could not see. And now, standing in the middle of Madame Susan's famed salon, she knew without a doubt that something wasn't right. Her instincts had never failed her before, and she wasn't about to ignore them now. She took her seat as one of the workers attended to her. Madame Susan herself soon appeared, her presence commanding and charismatic. She smiled warmly, greeting her new customer with a wide smile.
My dear, by the time you leave here, you won't recognize yourself anymore.
Madame Susan laughed heartily. Jessica forced a small smile, her mind racing as she continued to observe. She still felt uneasy. Something was off. She noticed something strange. Madame Susan never reused any products or tools. She watched as the workers opened fresh combs, brushes, makeup brushes for every customer. She saw how pedicure and manicure kits were brand new for each person. When each service was done, everything used was thrown into a large basket in the corner of the shop. The customers never asked to keep things used on them. It was as if they didn't even remember those items existed. They were too enchanted by Madame Susan's stories that made them smile and laugh as they got their beauty treatments. Jessica found it very odd. She had something else entirely. While others had exciting and uplifting tales, Jessica had cries of pain. It was as if hidden voices were whispering to her through Madame Susan's words. She had the silent pleas of lost souls, voices begging for freedom. It was disturbing. She swallowed hard, keeping her face neutral. The other customers were blind to it. Lost in the illusion of Madame Susan's charm. Jessica had never felt anything so eerie before. It was as if the spirit of the lost souls were trying to speak through Madame Susan's storytelling, but no one else could hear them. As her hair was being braided, Jessica kept her eyes on the large basket. Madame Susan made sure that none of the customers took home the products and tools that were used on them. Everything was placed into that basket. Jessica knew she needed to investigate. She wanted to take something from that basket to see if it held any secrets. But she knew she couldn't ask, that would seem too suspicious, so she made a plan. When her hair was done, she pretended to admire herself in the mirror, and while no one was looking, she sneaked the small comb used on her into her purse. Jessica knew that was risky. If Madame Susan saw her, she would surely suspect something. She quickly paid for her service, smiled politely and left. No one noticed. As she walked out of the salon, she felt a weight lift off her chest, as if she had just stepped out of a dark tunnel. She clutched her bag tightly. Tonight, she would pray. And she knew God would reveal the truth. That night, Jessica held the comb and prayed to God, asking him to show her the truth. Her voice trembled slightly as she prayed, but her faith was strong. After several minutes of praying, she felt relieved and went to sleep. And in her dreams, she saw everything. She saw Madame Susan standing in a dark room, placing combs, brushes, and other tools and products into a bowl filled with strange liquid. Around her, visible spirits of lost souls cried in pain. It all made sense now. The tools used on customers were never reused because they were being used for something else, dark rituals. Every new customer that stepped in unknowingly left a piece of themselves behind. Madame Susan wasn't just running a salon, she was stealing souls. Jessica woke up crying. She had seen the horrible truth, how many lives Madame Susan had destroyed. She couldn't stay silent. She had to expose Madame Susan and save the people who were still in danger. She had to bring back their lost hope. And she would not rest until justice was served. That night, as Madame Susan took the used tools into her secret room, a deep, terrifying voice filled the room.
A customer left with an item. You have broken a rule. You must return what was taken in 7 days, or you will face the consequences.
Madame Susan's hand trembled. Fear and confusion took over her. Who took it? She barely knew her customers. Why would anyone steal from her? She tried to recall each face that had visited that day, but her mind was clouded with fear. From that moment, Madame Susan stopped telling her famous stories. She no longer smiled or laughed with customers. She barely spoke to her workers. Her workers noticed how her mood had changed for the past couple of days, and when they asked her what was wrong, she assured them that she was fine, keeping her fears to herself. On the 4th day, something shocking and unbelievable happened. Jessica walked into the salon. The workers were surprised and excited. She was the first customer to return. But Madame Susan? She was furious. The moment she saw Jessica, her heart dropped. Another rule had been broken. She hadn't solved the first problem, and now this. Madame Susan gritted her teeth. Without hesitation, she told her workers.
Don't attend to her. We are closed for the day.
Close in the middle of the day? I came to do my pedicure and I won't leave until I get it done.
Madame Susan's anger exploded. She shouted at Jessica, causing a crowd to gather outside. In no time, Madame Susan and Jessica were already outside arguing. The commotion drew more crowd. Jessica saw the growing crowd and knew that this was the perfect time to expose the truth. Without hesitation, she revealed Madame Susan's dark secret. The crowd gasped. Some covered their mouths in shock, others whispered in doubt. Madame Susan's eye widened as she wondered how Jessica knew, because she never told anyone. She panicked but quickly forced a laugh, denying all what Jessica was saying. Jessica insisted and revealed further about the secret room underground. She told them to search the building for the secret room if they were doubting, and they all rushed inside to check but came out disappointed and angry, wondering if Jessica was fooling them. Madame Susan smiled, thinking she had won, but Jessica wasn't done. She stepped forward and told them to follow her. She led a few people to the corner of the salon. She bent down and pressed her hand on the wooden floor. A hidden door slid open. The people's eyes widened in shock. There was an underground room. Slowly, they climbed down the narrow steps, and what they saw sent chills down their spine. A strange symbol covered the walls, burning candles flickered. Piles of beauty tools were placed neatly around the room, filled with dark energies. It was clear now, Jessica was telling the truth. Madame Susan was not just a salon owner, she was something darker. By the time they returned outside, Madame Susan's body was trembling. She never thought or imagined a day like this day would come. The people surrounded her, their eyes full of anger and betrayal, as they were demanding for the truth and why she had a secret room. Realizing she could no longer hide, Madame Susan fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Through heavy sobs, she finally spoke. Susan was once a simple farm girl who worked hard to survive after losing her parents at age 10. Life was cruel to her and she struggled to make ends meet, doing all kinds of jobs just to have food to eat. Despite the hardships, she managed to finish secondary school but had no money for higher education. Determined to change her life and make a name for herself, she decided to learn a skill. She trained as beautician, mastering the art of hairstyling, pedicures, manicures and makeup. When she finally saved up enough money, she opened her own salon. But her excitement quickly turned to disappointment. No customer came. She sat in her shop morning to night, watching the street, hoping someone would walk in but they barely came. She was heartbroken. One fateful day, an old woman visited her shop. She saw Susan's sadness and promised to help her. She handed her a small paper and whispered, "Come at midnight and your life will change." Susan was hesitant, but desperation pushed her to go. When she arrived, the old woman looked different. Her once kind face was now dark and mysterious. She made Susan an offer: "You will have fame and fortune. People will travel from all over the world just to visit your salon. But in return, you must give up your chance to have husband and children. And you must follow 3 rules. Never use the same equipment twice on different customer. Never let customers leave with anything you've used on them. No customer must visit your shop twice." Blinded by the promise of success, Susan accepted without hesitation. That night, her life changed forever. She moved out from her late parents' old hut to a big, beautiful and popular city where she opened her beauty empire and soon became the most famous stylist. As soon as Susan confessed, the people became furious. Some shouted, "You are wicked. You must pay for what you have done." Others spat on the ground cursing her name. Her workers stood frozen, their faces filled with shock and disbelief. They couldn't believe that their beloved madam could do such an evil thing. Susan lowered her head in shame, unable to look at the faces of her workers. The crowd turned towards her beautiful salon. The place that had once been the most admired in the city. They grabbed dry woods and kerosene as they were set to burn the place. Before Susan could say a word, they've set the place on fire. Her beautiful empire, her years of sacrifice and hard work, burned to the ground within minutes. The golden chairs, luxurious mirrors, the expensive beauty products, all turned to ashes. Madame Susan fell to her knees, watching in agony. She could only watch in pain as the fire swallowed everything she had worked for. Her rivals stood at a distance mocking and laughing at her. Susan's reputation was destroyed. Her employees left her in shame. People insulted her in the street. As if that was not enough, the crowd forced her to pack her things and leave immediately, saying she was too wicked to live among them. With no choice and nowhere to go, Susan walked away in shame. She returned to the almost collapsed old hut that her late parents had left behind. She sat inside crying for hours, regretting her greed. She had lost everything. She had been rich and powerful, but now she had nothing, no money, no friends, no family. She realized too late that she had ruined herself. For years, she had used evil to gain her wealth, and now she was paying the price. Word spread in the village and people in her village avoided her hut. Nobody wanted to be near her. Whenever she stepped outside, people ran away, scared of her. Some whispered that she was cursed. Humiliated, she stopped coming outside completely. She survived by eating scraps and whatever little things she could find. Days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months. Her once beautiful skin became rough, thin and dark. Her hair became messy and unkempt. Her once glowing face was now wrinkled and tired. She looked old, tired and sick. She looked years older than her age. She had once been a poor farm girl desperate for success. But in her hunger for wealth and fame, she had ruined countless lives, and now she was completely alone, filled with regrets and sorrow, and was paying for her sins. She lived the rest of her days in misery, cursed by the very power she had once begged for, and no one ever spoke her name again. The people who had suffered because of Susan felt free again. Their lives and relationships were restored. They gathered together, singing songs of thanksgiving. They praised God and celebrated Jessica, the girl who had uncovered the truth. Many said, "God used Jessica to save us." They showered her with gifts, thanking her for her bravery. Jessica, however, remained humbled. She simply smiled and said, "All glory belongs to God." Dishonesty, greed, or shortcuts may bring success for a while, but in the end, they lead to downfall and regret. True success comes from hard work, honesty, and kindness. True happiness and fulfillment come from doing what is right and helping others, not from selfish gain. Also, evil can never remain hidden forever, truth will always be revealed. Only those who do good will find everlasting peace and happiness. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section and also do well to share with your family, friends, in fact, all your loved ones. Something good is always coming, so please stay tuned for more interesting and amazing story from this channel.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to Hopela Story.